Welcome back. Today, I'll talk about a 2019 movie called Dark Waters. Be ready for spoilers. One dark night, a car pulls up to a tall fence. A bunch of teens jump out and quickly climb over the fence. They find a lake and decide to swim without their clothes. But their fun ends soon when two men arrive in a boat, spraying the lake with a strange liquid. Years later, far away, a busy law office is full of excitement. Everyone's there to meet the new guy, Rob Bilott. Suddenly, two farmers come in demanding to talk to Rob. His secretary quickly takes him away from his big welcome. The farmers mention they know Rob's grandma, and they need his help badly. They even brought videos to show him something important. But Rob refuses. He says he's a lawyer for big companies, not against them. The farmers leave disappointed. Rob tries to forget about it and returns to his meeting. His boss, Tom, feels something is wrong, but Rob acts normal. That night, while eating dinner with his family, Rob can't stop thinking about earlier. The next morning, he decides to go to West Virginia to visit his grandma. She reminds him about those farmers and their farm, which he visited as a kid. Curious, Rob goes to the farm. There, he sees sick and oddly shaped animal organs. They go to a creek where the animals drink. It's full of strange white rocks, chemicals, the farmer explains, that are making his cattle sick. Looking around, Rob notices there are hardly any cows. The farmer shows him a field where hundreds of cows are buried. The nearby dump, owned by DuPont, is the source of the problems, but no one from DuPont has helped. Rob knows he needs to act. What began as a mysterious night by a lake has led him to a big fight for justice. Right in his grandma's backyard, at a fancy dinner, Rob sits with the big boss of DuPont, a company his firm has been close to for years. After they eat, Rob asks him about the suspicious dump. The president quickly changes the topic, promising to look into it. Later, Rob visits the farmer again, this time with a report. The report says the dead cows were poorly cared for, not poisoned. This angers the farmer. He's sure it's not true. They argue and suddenly, one of the cows goes wild and charges at them. Rob jumps into his truck, but the farmer stays and has to shoot the cow to stop it. Driving through the town later, Rob sees that DuPont owns almost everything there. Back at his office, he shows his boss the videos the farmer had left. He pleads to take on the farmer's case for free because no local lawyer will challenge DuPont. His boss agrees but tells him to stay focused. Rob then calls the DuPont president to say he's suing them and needs more reports from the dump. The president isn't worried and even says he forgives Rob for the lawsuit. The needed reports only arrive a year later. During a party at his house, Rob is buried in those documents. He notices something odd with the initials PFOA showing up a lot. He tries to find out what PFOA means at his office, but finds nothing. A colleague comes over, and they discuss how DuPont might be illegally dumping chemicals, unknown to environmental officials. His colleague doesn't know what PFOA is either. The president of DuPont starts avoiding Rob's calls. One evening, at an awards dinner, Rob and his wife see the president. Determined, Rob walks over to confront him about everything he's found out. Rob's confrontation with the DuPont president at the dinner causes a scene, upsetting his wife. She's worried because she knows how powerful DuPont is. The next day, Rob's boss is also upset. He doesn't like how much attention the lawsuit is getting. Soon, a huge pile of documents from DuPont arrives at Rob's office. The company seems to be trying to overwhelm him with paperwork, but Rob is not giving up. He starts going through everything by himself. He sees the letters PFOA and C8 again, which keep showing up in the reports. Back in the farmer's town, people are upset with the farmers for suing DuPont, since the company is the main employer there. Despite this, Rob continues and meets with a scientist to learn more about what he's discovered. The scientist is shocked by Rob's questions about the chemical, saying it's like eating a tire. Another year passes, and Rob's search goes deeper. He finds out it's not just the cows being harmed. People are affected too. The harmful chemical is in the local water. He finds more papers that support his worries. Meanwhile, back in West Virginia, the farmer who first contacted Rob is very sick. When he and his wife come back from the doctor, they find their home has been broken into. Their papers and cow samples are gone. DuPont is scaring them, making the farmer worried about keeping his family safe. One evening, Rob comes home with shocking news. He tells his wife that the chemical company DuPont is poisoning everyone, including their unborn baby. His wife is shocked, But Rob explains everything. He has found out that the harmful chemical was first used during World War II in the Manhattan Project. After the war, companies found other uses for it. DuPont was one of these companies. They renamed the chemical C8 and used it to make Teflon, a popular non-stick coating for pans, made in a factory in West Virginia. Rob has learned that DuPont knew since the 1960s that C8 was harmful. He tells his boss, sharing how the company did tests that caused birth defects in lab animals and saw similar problems in their workers and their kids. Yet they hid it all. DuPont knew the dangers of C8 not just to their employees, but also to people using their products, which ranged from cookware to clothes. Amidst this chaos, Rob's wife gives birth. When their baby is born, Rob nervously asks the nurses if the baby shows any signs of the defects he read about in DuPont's files. Thankfully, the nurses tell him the baby is healthy. Later, Rob and his boss talk to the president of DuPont, telling him they know all about C8 and the widespread pollution. Rob also updates the farmer who first brought him the case. The farmer is angry and wants to tell everyone, refusing to settle quietly because he thinks the world must know about what DuPont did. But he also shares that both he and his wife have cancer, making their situation more urgent. Despite the farmer's wish for justice, Rob convinces him that fighting DuPont in court is too risky because of their power. They agree to settle. However, Rob hasn't stopped trying to expose DuPont. He has secretly sent all his information to the right authorities and agrees to speak in a government case against the company. Rob's boss is very upset with him but still wishes him luck as he goes to Washington to speak. There, Rob asks government agencies to act against the pollution from DuPont. A year later, in 2001, Rob, his wife, and a colleague visit the Kiegers' home. The Kiegers have received a letter from DuPont and share sad stories about their relatives who worked for DuPont and died of cancer, along with similar stories from other people they know. This new information makes Rob suggest a class action lawsuit at his law firm to represent those harmed by DuPont. He argues the case based on DuPont's own rules on self-checking and the need for health checks. The law firm is divided. Some partners think DuPont did nothing wrong, but others, motivated by Rob's dedication, support him. The firm's boss stands up for taking the case, saying it's their duty to show DuPont's wrongdoings. By the next year, the lawsuit goes to court with Harry Dietzler helping Rob. However, DuPont tries to dismiss the case, citing new pollution rules introduced overnight that could affect their lawsuit. During the court session, an official who should be neutral seems too friendly with DuPont's president, leading to claims of unfairness from Dietzler. As the legal fight goes on, Teflon becomes a big news topic both in the United States and around the world. More shocking facts about the chemical come out. Meanwhile, the Kiegers are scared. One of their empty houses is mysteriously burned down. Another year passes, and Rob gets to question the chairman of DuPont in person. He shows him evidence from the 1970s that links C8 to serious health problems like cancer and infertility. Rob also shows hidden papers from DuPont's own tests, which they had tried to hide and deny ever doing. At the end of a tense meeting, as the defendant's lawyers are ready to leave, Rob shows a photo of a child with deformities. This shocks everyone, especially the chairman. Rob then leaves quickly, his heart pounding as he walks to his car. He starts the car slowly, worried that someone might have messed with it because of his role in the lawsuit. Sometime later, DuPont is fined $16 million by the EPA. However, the money for the people in the lawsuit is still not decided. A third party comes in to manage this, setting up an independent science panel to handle the health parts of the case. That evening, Rob and two colleagues celebrate their progress, though one colleague worries that the science panel's work might fail if people take quick settlement money instead of doing needed health tests. Rob suggests a plan: test everyone's blood before giving them any settlement money. This way, they can show how widespread DuPont's damage is and stop them from harming more people in the future. Years pass, and Rob returns to the West Virginian town where many people are now getting their blood tested at a mobile lab. Inside, a doctor confirms that Rob's plan is working, though some, like a woman getting tested, still doubt DuPont's guilt. It's Christmas, and while celebrating with his friends and family, Rob gets a call. His colleague excitedly tells him that they've tested 69,000 people, collecting a lot of important data. 11 years after the case started, the farmer who first brought the issue to Rob has passed away, Rob goes to the funeral with his family. Afterward, at a local diner, a man tells him that his brother also died from cancer because of the pollution. As they leave, they drive past the unemployment office, where a crowd is gathered, some of them visibly angry with Rob, blaming him for their problems. Later, the Keegers call Rob, upset by the local anger for their part in the lawsuit. They are frustrated about the long wait for the lawsuit's results and the backlash from the community. 1 year later, Rob is having breakfast with his wife and 3 sons. After the kids go to school, Rob wonders aloud if they can still pay for the boys' Catholic school. His wife, upset by his constant focus on the case, leaves the room angrily. Later that day, Rob has a strong argument with his boss about the lawsuit. He says that all other government efforts have failed, and this lawsuit is the last chance to make DuPont take responsibility. During their talk, Rob suddenly starts shaking uncontrollably and then collapses with a seizure. They rush him to the hospital for tests. While waiting for the results, Rob's wife tells his boss that he needs to support Rob more, who has been fighting a hard battle. The next year, Rob and his family are seen in a church, and afterward, at a gas station, Rob finally meets Bucky, the child with deformities from the photos he's been using in his case. The next day at the office, Rob is visibly upset and feeling defeated. While sitting at his desk, he gets an important phone call from a doctor on the science panel, which had been set up 7 years earlier. She tells him that they've finished analyzing the data, confirming a direct link between DuPont's pollution and 6 serious illnesses. Thanks to Rob's tireless efforts, affected people can now ask for compensation. Rob drives home to share the good news with his family, and they celebrate in a restaurant. But the celebration is quickly stopped by another call. DuPont is challenging the science panel's findings. Rob feels beaten, believing that big companies like DuPont always win and it's the ordinary people who suffer. But he knows he must keep fighting for them. It's now 2015. In a courtroom, a judge sits down, and Rob stands to speak for his clients. After winning 3 cases and settling $3,535, Rob Bilott is still deeply involved in the fight, committed as ever. This is where the movie ends.